There is much good news because, I have to have a lot of good news in order to fill up my other show that'll be in a few hours. Good news Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But there's so much good news over the weekend that even the mainstream media could not find very much negative to say because they were filling up all the headlines with good news. Brian, did you see any of that?
I've seen a lot of good news. I mean, we're here to talk about execution. I know you cover the stock a lot and the stock measures sentiment, but I don't measure that. I don't follow the daily movements. I don't have the headspace and every attempt I've made at trying to predict the movements in the stock market, there are infinite variables that affect it and I just can't do that, and no one can. That's why even the best analysts out there are lucky to do better than a coin toss, and the ones who do worse than a coin toss get the most headlines. What is that about?
They invite them on
Unex-
CNBC, and I don't know, do they pay those guys or just give them publicity?
I think it's just publicity, but either way it's too much. You're giving them too much. What you should give them is a swift kick in the patootie and a invitation to the exit door. But no, what we're looking at is we're seeing a lot of good news about the refreshed Model 3,
Yeah,
about the Cybertruck,
yeah.
about FSD. There's
Yeah.
great stuff going on.
Well, I want to talk about I would like to review the reviews. Would that be okay with you today?
I would love that. Yeah.
Let's start with the thing that might actually be moving the market today because it's up 10. And I don't know, right now, last time I looked, it was up 9. It was up 10. It's been up around that pretty much all morning. And I had said in my program last night, I said, I wonder if all this FSD stuff will actually move the market tomorrow. And voila, one time out of 365 this year, I might have been right. So, Brian, I've seen a lot of FSD version 12 reviews. You've probably watched a lot of the people driving their cars around in San Francisco and Chicago and all over the country. What is your take I mean, even Rob Maurer got back in the act and had to come on X yesterday and talk about his drive. What's your overall feeling from all these reviews so far?
So people who follow me know I am deeply skeptical of FSD. My experience with beta has been not good. It's worked great for me in some big cities, and in small towns, it's worked much more inefficiently and ineffectively and dangerously. So when the first videos come out reviewing FSD beta version 12, they start with like Omar, with Holmar's catalog. He had great successes with version 11 that gave me confidence that what he was experiencing and what I was experiencing were two very, very different things. So that gives for him to say, yeah, version 12 is way better. Okay, but then what? I mean, if it's 50% better than my experience with version 11, it's still not useful. But then you get people like Bradford Ferguson, who flew out to California, got his hands on a Model 3 with the new version, FSD version beta 12, and he drove all the way across the country to Florida, up to the Midwest, and now back across the top half of the country. And he's been running it through the ringer. He's been stopping with all the people who need to see it, who need to get their hands on it and say, I know some tricky places. Let's give it some real tests. He took it to his hometown. I think it's his hometown, at least close to there, Carmel, Indiana,
Yeah.
where they've got like 80 roundabouts. And he ran it through all of them and it worked. There were like two disengagements, two,
Yeah.
two disengagements out of 80
And
roundabouts.
and some of which he did multiple times.
So what you did, and my question is, great, it works in San Francisco or Phoenix.
Mhm.
Does it work in other places where it may not have had? And the answer appears to be, yeah, this is a big change. So I am today resubscribing for FSD. I'm on hardware 4. So we're going to play a game called Will I Get It Ever? So
Yes.
we'll find out. Maybe I'll get it today. Maybe I'll get it next week or next month. And maybe I'll get it never. But this is
Maybe
very exciting.
in Napa, that would be you have to go on the way back home to Napa. Oh, never.
Well,
Oh, never.
never. Because you've got Chuck Cook, who's got his very difficult,
Yes.
unprotected left turn, and he is clearly a Tesla fan,
Yes.
but he's not a fanboy. He
No.
has no hesitation to speak out when it doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
With a lot of earlier versions, and everyone had seen this, every analyst, every YouTuber, every reviewer, every version before this was one or two steps forward, one or two steps back. Great, you fixed this thing, but you broke this. And this one, while it isn't perfect, and it still has a couple of goofy things going on, it is by all accounts, a substantial step forward.
Yes, apparently not just in the kind of things that you're hoping for, like that it doesn't just stop in the middle of the freeway, or that it doesn't ignore your directions that you need to get on that other freeway and maybe it's time to move over, or maybe the ones where you're driving down to a stop sign and it decides that it doesn't need to stop at that stop sign because, it's just better than everybody else. Um, so, I mean, I've been there. I've done that.
Laws are for humans, Randy.
Yeah, right. So it apparently 12 was the human version. So it's more human-like. It's more aggressive when it should be aggressive and less aggressive when it doesn't need to be. It has all these smoothness has been something that a lot of people have talked about. Not as jittery, not as uncertain of itself, more confident. And then 12.3, Bradford Ferguson did manage to grab a couple of 12.3s along the way. I don't know if the one he's in has been upgraded yet, but he has been able to borrow a couple of 12.3s and he's been super impressed with those 12.3s.
It's If you're looking for good news, this is it. And when you said there's one thing that may have moved the stock today, I was in agreement before you said it. This is the one that's likely to do something, because even though this is not a robotaxi, not yet, maybe not ever, we don't know, this is something that I can see people actually paying for, even though it's not level 4.
Right. And then, of course, if it becomes a robotaxi, it becomes an entirely different. So I think when we went to 410 a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, believe it or not, a lot of that 410 was the anticipation of a robotaxi. People were giving it some credence that you'd be able to take your car, turn it into a robotaxi, and start earning money off of it. And I think that was pushing the numbers up maybe way more than they should have been. Of course, it was a very risk-on market then too. So that was part of it. But then that slowly but surely kind of goes away. And people are like, I don't know if we're ever going to get there. And so nobody's really giving it that extra optionality. Now maybe that optionality will start coming back in when people see these videos.
I think the all-time high happened because there was a confluence of a convergence of all the different hype factors. There was all the people who said, look, I made $1 million in the last 3 months. There were people who were 10xing, 20xing. And then on top of that, you had the Hertz announcement with Tom Brady doing a massive commercial campaign. You had a lot of hype falling all at once. You had new factories coming on. I don't know what more you could have done to give people the FOMO, the fear of missing out,
Right.
and make them say, I know it's going up, but if there's one thing I know about bubbles, it's that they never burst.
Never,
And
ever.
never, ever. Now, I did not anticipate it going back to 110, but it, if you look at the valuation, you have to take all those equations and flip them. Now you've got people who are saying, look, I've lost $1 million in 3 months and I bailed out. And other people say, well, then I should bail out too. And that's the trick with trying to follow hype, is the early guys get the benefit and the late guys, by the time you and I hear about the next big hype, it might be too late.
Yes. Well, except when it comes to Tesla, you and I would be the first to know because you're on the ground reporting. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so in addition, probably not affecting the market at all today, but there was continuously new stuff coming out about the Model 3 Plus. And I'm going to remind everybody that, from time to time, I learn from Brian. And Brian was the one who, I don't know, could have been 5 or 6 months ago. Brian says, Randy, do you have any idea how many sedans are sold in the United States? It is still a lot. And now we have Sandy Monroe yesterday or the day before saying that the Model 3 is by far, it's not even close, the best. sedan available today to purchase.
Wow. So and globally, sedans are even bigger.
Right.
In the US, sedans it's still a strong market. Well, yeah, but Ford doesn't even really sell one. Right. But Honda sells two. Toyota sells, Nissan, all the import brands are still big sedan companies. And the Model 3 refresh is a much better car. Doug DeMuro reviewed it and said it's boring. Okay, I guess if you're comparing it to a supercar, then yes, it is. But if you're comparing it to a Honda, it is not boring. It is quick. It is the quickest car. It is the quickest sedan out there, apart from the Model S.
Right.
It is the quietest ride. It is the smoothest ride. The infotainment is amazing. And all of this is included with the base model. And people say, yeah, but you can get a base model Camry for less. Yeah, but a base model Camry is not a comparable vehicle to the top trim Camry is closer. And once you option it out, it's way more expensive.
Right.
And there are people who just love Toyota, will just keep buying them. My friend traded in his FJ Cruiser. He thought he would never do that, and he got another Toyota because he's not ready for an EV.
Right, right. And you're going to always have that. You're going to have people that are going to be fans. They're going to just like the color. I mean, I talked about this on the show the other day. I'll tell a different story. I bought my Volvo that I finally just sold, actually 12 years ago, basically because the commercial, I just liked how it looked in the commercial. And Volvo was always known as a safe car and a very well-engineered car, but I didn't care about any of that. I just thought it really looked great.
What I never understood, there was this trend for about 20, 25 years where every car commercial that wanted to show excitement would show their car sliding sideways through the desert. And I thought, I don't want a car that does that. That's terrifying. And it was it was so many commercials. Do you have like one driver who's like the sideways in the desert guy?
Right, right. And my favorite car ever is the Challenger. And my wife thinks a Challenger looks like, I won't describe the way that she thinks a Challenger looks. And, and she is a SUV person. And I think SUVs are okay.
Could you describe her sentiment in a single emoji?
Probably.
I think you could.
Probably. Anyway, people just have different taste. And so some people are just not going to like the car for color or for style. They like something with more angles or less angles or with a sunroof or not a sunroof. And it just goes on and on and on. So, but the Model 3 Plus, as you point out, just has all these things, not the least of which is safety. And the number 2 reason that people buy a vehicle is for safety.
Wow.
And especially among women, especially among moms, safety is number 1 for a lot of the mom part of the world. Safety is number 1. And of course, we know that the Model 3 is just blown apart all the different safety standards. And
on that note, just a reminder in case anyone forgot, EVs are inherently safer than internal combustion. So if you want a safe car, get an EV, and if you want the safest car, get a Tesla.
Right. So, so the Model 3 Plus getting lots of that. Sandy Monroe was just the latest to say, and there's a number of other people that have said it's probably, well, some people have been comparing it to the Model S and saying, why would you buy a Model S?
Right.
Maybe you want a bigger sedan, a little more room, but they can't figure out what the real advantage is to the Model S because it's got pretty much all the same stuff.
Right. Yeah. And if the new ludicrous Model 3 comes out, I'll be very curious to see the performance difference between the S and the 3 ludicrous.
Yes, I've already stated over and over again, if I was a younger man, I would already have my order in for the ludicrous. It would not be a question. It would be an absolute certainty. So, all right. So those 2 reviews, and again, that wasn't the only review over the weekend on the 3 Plus, but it's just an example of the ongoing reviews on the 3 Plus. Then we have We spent just did another video yesterday, probably yesterday. This will
Who
probably be
knows?
out on Tuesday. Right now, we're probably talking to people on Tuesday. And on Monday, probably, we did a video where we talked at length about the Cybertruck reviews, but just real quick, as quiet as nice driving as a Rolls Royce, the quietest car ever. The
I
stereo
couldn't believe it.
system,
I couldn't believe it.
better
I
stereo system than any car ever.
Yeah, yeah. So we're talking Cybertruck here, and if you, my boys know a lot about Tesla because they have no choice. It is what we talk about. And I asked them, which is the quietest Tesla? And they said, well, it's got to be the X. I said, it is not the X. That is a good guy. Well, okay, well, then it's the S. I said, it's not the S. And they said, I don't know. It is the Cybertruck. Even with those big wheels, the sound dampening works. The laminated glass cuts the noise. It is the quietest ride they have. And Sandy and others have said that the air suspension is tuned in such a way that it is the smoothest ride they've ever had. So if you want the most luxurious, this is the perfect executive car because it's got good space, it's got good infotainment, it's got good safety, it's got good acceleration, it's got everything you would kind of want in a executive car. And maybe the executive also wants to look pretty cool while doing it. And you can argue that it's not cool. At the auto show in Portland, the International Auto Show for Oregon, I guess it was called, I hung out by the Cybertruck, which they had on display, and I got to see the reaction. People, real truck guys, would stand in line for 20 minutes to get inside of it and then go, nah, it's ugly. I'd never buy one. My friend, you just stood here for 20 minutes just to get inside of it. You can see inside of it perfectly
Right.
without waiting. But what you can't deny is that it makes a statement.
Right.
And that statement is different to different people. But, you know, it's the blind man touching the elephant kind of thing where it's everybody sees something different. But you can't ignore an elephant. Same color, too.
So should we talk about the negatives? People are talking
Sure.
about fingerprints and smudges and all that kind of stuff. So I've heard some solutions for that besides, wrapping it. But what do you think about the smudge and fingerprint problem?
It's up to you. I don't care if my car has smudges. I don't wash my car as religiously as other people, in part because I live in the Northwest and it's going to rain this week. I just know it. Uh, but I will still wash it sometimes. I would, if I had a Cybertruck, I would carry some Barkeep's friend, whatever it's called, and keep that around just so I could make it look pretty once in a while. But I can't imagine obsessing over it. And like you said, there are solutions we've seen where people will apply a coating or something to make it a little less prone to fingerprints. But that downside, if that's your downside, my goodness.
So what about having your fingers chopped off? How do you feel about that one?
Don't close your fingers in any moving part of any vehicle. Go ahead, Randy, open the hood of any car, put your fingers in and shut it and tell me how that works out for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Or don't, because we both know what's going to happen.
It'd be good.
Don't close your fingers in anything is my real message for the viewers at home. And the truth is the people who are complaining about this are dumb enough that they may require this kind of advice. Don't put your fingers in a closing door. I remember, I think it might have been Dirty Tesla or it might have been Out of Spec where they just called it the carrot grater or something, carrot chopper. Yeah, something like that. But that's any car. That's any car. So I'm not worried about that. What else you got?
What do we got? How about no way to store your tire easily, a spare tire easily?
Yeah, I think that's legit. There are a lot of EVs that do have. I know the Audi e-tron Sportback, for example, under the back where you and I have a nice size sub trunk, they have a compact spare. The Cybertruck does not have a full size or a compact spare. I think that's a strange decision on Tesla's part, but whatever. It's, if it matters that much, throw a tire in the bed. But yeah, it's a huge tire. They're big wheels.
Yeah, yeah.
If that's your decision making process on buying a truck, don't get it. I guess I don't know what to tell you.
Well, they have, I guess, third party already have ways to put one on the rear, put it on the rear of the car. I've seen people talking about. Oh, I know that in the bicycle industry, and I know this is true for auto tires too. You can get these fillers that if you have a flat, you can fill it with
Fix a flat.
fix a flat or some such thing, and also has the air in there to get you to the next location. You could buy, I have an air pump that I bought because I was getting tired of going to gas stations and finding pumps that didn't work or that worked poorly or that actually emptied my tire. So I bought one of these little for I think $29.95. A really good, really actually works air pump. All you need is electricity. And guess what? The Cybertruck has electricity on the
It
truck.
does.
So you can just air it up. And if you can't get all the way to the place you're going to get it fixed, I guess eventually you got to call AAA. But yeah,
Mhm.
so I guess I mean, I've had a lot of flats recently just by happenstance, even had one on the Cybertruck, the Model Y. Yeah, I call AAA. I'm not gonna fix my own tires anymore. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it.
I have also had AAA for years. They're not as awesome as they used to be. They're not as cheap as they used to be, but they are great. And the guys who come out to give you a jump starter and unlock or whatever, I haven't needed that in the Tesla yet, but I have it. And I'll tell you, in every car I've owned before this, I've been glad to have AAA.
Yes, yes, absolutely right. I've had it, I think since I started driving. And so I think I'm coming up on 60 years with AAA. I'll have to look at my card and see exactly what that is. Something like that. Is that wild? Anyway,
Seems a bit wild.
they should send me something. I should get a plaque. I should get something, don't you think?
I think so. When you deal with customer service and they say thank you for being a customer
Yeah, yeah.
since uh I had to go to the T-Mobile store to get my PIN reset because I've got a 6-digit PIN, and I had to tell them I my account predates 6-digit PINs, and she said thank you for being a customer for, I want to say, 28 years, 27 years. She couldn't believe it. She's like, I was not alive at the time.
You're right. Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, AGE. It's an amazing disease. Brian, what else have we left out about the Tesla? That is there anything else negative? Has anybody else got a problem with it?
Sure,
Oh,
people can complain about the range, and rightly so. It's an affliction of all trucks. It's an affliction of all big things. Um, know your use case and decide if it works. The range extender's not out yet. It should be soon. We'll see how that goes. Big complaints. I am too shy, and I don't want to be. I don't want people to
oh
see
yes,
me.
right. Yeah,
I'm too
don't buy
shy.
it yet. Don't buy it yet.
Don't buy it yet.
Gonna be good.
You're going to be
Okay,
famous.
here's one they can fix easily. I was talking about this one a week ago or so, but let me bring it up again. A lot of people, and I think rightfully, are complaining. I'm having a little difficulty adjusting to looking at the screen instead of my left rear view mirror. My wife is really pushing me to get used to using the screen instead of my actual mirror. Well, on Cybertruck, of course, for the rear view mirror in the middle, you have no choice if the tonneau is closed. But it's a really good view out the rearview mirror. But if you turn on the blinker and therefore your side view mirror picture comes up, now you lose your rearview mirror.
I'm
And
not sure if that's the
yeah,
case. I know
yeah,
you can, there's also a button you can just have the rear view on all the time. So it stays at the top of your screen.
they're saying that it goes away. And I'm thinking that's an easy fix. That's an over-the-air update that could easily be solved.
Yeah.
I think they might even come up with a thing where all three views would always be there as of a wraparound, where you would always have 100% of all three views in front of you.
Yeah. And I think that these are reasons why it would have been awesome for me to get my hands on one sooner, but uh, I don't, I am not part of that decision-making process. So
Badly. I had my offer. I got my deal. I got it in the mail, but I am not up for the $120,000 decision.
I could have jumped the line with my referral credits,
Yeah,
but even for the dual motor, 100 grand. No,
yeah,
I
yeah.
I do not have 100 grand.
You don't.
No, no,
There's
I
a,
cannot afford the payment on a
I was going to say,
hundred thousand
there's
dollars.
a remote chance that I would have been approved for the 100,000, but I
Oh,
think that would have been about 1,800 $1,800 a month.
yeah, I believe I could have been approved for it.
Yeah, yeah,
That doesn't make it a
a good
something I
decision.
can actually afford.
Right. So, all right. I think those are the reviews that are going on right now. I think it's been a great weekend for reviews. I think Tesla is just uh, charging along,
Charging, very good, very
along,
good.
I mean, charging along on all, you can't say cylinders.
No,
No,
it's
uh,
discharging. I don't like
no,
that.
charging along on all electrons, on all,
Sure,
I'm sure we could work on this.
zapping on all cells.
There you go. Something like that. We need something like that. I'm sure you'll figure it out. All right, Brian, thanks for coming on board. You should follow him on it's called Future Aza. Future
Future
Aza.
Ozza, you
Right?
got
It's
it.
really quite the name. It's quite explosive. It's got power, energy. Future Aza.
And it's got a Z in it. That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's always good. All right, Brian. Been great having you on board. Thank you as always. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.